Madam Clerk, please call the next public speaker.
Mayor Hall, we have 6 speakers regarding Human Life Ordinance. The first is Fred Fees.
Good evening. Please identify yourself and proceed.
My name is Fred Feast. I'm the pastor of McKeero Baptist Church in Greenfield, and I just want to speak on behalf of the Human Life Ordinance and this city and its view of unborn life and all those that may find themselves in a disadvantaged place without a voice, whether it be the elderly that are told they no longer have a quality of life, or whether it be the unborn child that's told that it doesn't have a fair shot at the world because of its parents' disadvantaged economic status, or because it's said that that child would be disadvantaged in life. We feel like all life should be respected and given a shot, no matter how it originates, that life was given, and therefore, because of that, deserves an opportunity. And so we ask this conservative city, conservative council, to consider the Human Life Ordinance as it is stated, or to suggest ways in which we should change it, therefore being able to bring into something in this city where we would, as a city, make a statement saying that we stand up for life, no matter what form it's in development. And we thank you for your time. We congratulate those who are newly in office, and hope that each of you will fairly consider this proposal.
Madam Clerk, please call the next public speaker.
Sam and Otilia Curell regarding sanctity of human life.
Good evening. Please identify yourself and proceed.
Good evening, I'm Sam Curiel.
Good evening, Otilia Curiel.
We're the pastors of Houses of Light Church here in Bakersfield. And in our lobby here is Colonel Baker said, this is God's country. And God's heart is to preserve life. And He's given us that life, and given us all this destiny. And what a shame it would be if our city council wouldn't step up. At one time in your life, actually before you were born, someone gave you an opportunity, and here you are, making a difference in our lives. So if you would just consider that there are children who are going to come into this world who are going to make a difference.
Otilia Curiel, and we just want to place it before the council. Congratulations to the new members, but we want to be able to be a voice for the voiceless. And someone had mentioned about if this room, if our parents had not given us the opportunity, it would be empty. But they gave us the opportunity to live. And life is precious. Life is a gift of God. And we can't see it, the seal, but the seal has, in God we trust. And we want to place our trust in God and know that His word, His standard, His law that He has placed before us is righteous, is right, to give life and not take life away. And by no means we want to become a county, a city where we are allowing another place that's going to take away life in our city. We thank you for this time.
Madam Clerk, please call the next public speaker.
Pastor Troy Morris.
Good evening. Please identify yourself and proceed.
Good evening. Pastor Troy Morris of the New Beginnings Christian Church. Mayor Hall, Council, City, thank you for this opportunity to stand before you today. And I want you guys to know that I'm praying for you, that God would give you wisdom. It's not an easy job. The way I see it, you are the kings of this community. And we're not going to stop abortion, but we can stop it here at home. People are going to abort their children. There's nothing we can do about that. That's the wickedness. I'd like to repent on behalf of the church for not preaching more strongly against sin, which leads to these unwanted children. And I'd like to say that Bakersfield's supposed to be a refuge. It's supposed to be a safe place. And I think you guys have the ability to make it a safe place. There's prophetic words that have been spoken over Bakersfield. I've traveled all over the country. And every prophet I've ever ran into says Bakersfield is going to be a refuge and a safe place. And it's going to be the start of something that is going to spread worldwide. And so I'm going to continue to pray for you guys. You can make a change. We don't have to be the city that is responsible for the shedding of innocent blood. I've walked these streets. I'm doing what I can to make a difference. You know, once upon a time I rode in the back of those police cars, and today I'm a chaplain with the City of Bakersfield Police Department. And I think it's a privilege to serve this community as a chaplain. I'm out there because I want to make a difference. And I know that you guys have the power to make a difference. You have been ordained by God for such a time as this. And so I want to thank you for hearing me today. And we will continue to pray that God will give you wisdom and that God will give you direction, because I believe that you're all here ordained by God for such a time as this. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, please call the next public speaker.
Pastor Rick Dorr.
Good evening. Please identify yourself and proceed.
I'm Pastor Rick Dorr from Stallion Springs Church. Honorable Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council, I appreciate your allowing me to be heard tonight. One of the ancient writers by the name of Amos gave a great quote in his writings found in Amos chapter 5, verse number 10. And he wrote, "There are those who hate the one who upholds justice in court and detest the one who tells the truth." This statement is truer today than at any other time in history in America. There are those who hate religious leaders and detest the fact that we stand for the truth, but whether they detest it or not, the truth must be told. Edmund Burke, who served in the House of Commons of Great Britain, made a powerful statement when he said, "The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing." Today, as good men and women, you are being asked to do something. You're being asked to pass an ordinance. It's an ordinance to protect human life, and specifically the life of an unborn child. The Charter of the City of Bakersfield gives you the right to do so. You have the right to define, prohibit, abate, suppress, and prevent all things detrimental to the health, morals, safety, comfort, convenience, and welfare of the inhabitants of our city. Today, ordinances are being passed to protect the citizens of cities, counties, states, and nations. We pass ordinances as authoritative rule or law to stop people from talking on their cell phones while driving, and if they don't, they receive a traffic citation. Why did we enact such a law? To protect the innocent from harm. We pass ordinances to require people to wear a seatbelt while they're either driving or a passenger in the vehicle, again, so we can protect the life of innocent citizens. Just a year ago, my 18-year-old nephew was a passenger in a truck. He was not wearing his seatbelt, and as they turned a sharp corner, his door opened. He was thrown out of the vehicle. He hit his head on a concrete pillar, and he died, 18 years old. I performed his funeral. Had he observed the law and wore his seatbelt, or been required to wear his seatbelt by the driver of that vehicle, he would have been alive today. We passed ordinances to keep people from smoking inside of buildings. Why? To protect the innocent non-smokers from the harmful effects of the carcinogens in this tobacco. We have ordinances to protect innocent children from the abuses of their adult parents, and have even created entire organizations such as Child Protective Services for that sole purpose. We have ordinances that require deadbeat dads and deadbeat moms to pay child support to provide food, shelter, and clothing for their children. And we have a welfare department to support parents who cannot afford these necessities of life. And all of these ordinances were passed to protect the innocent. Today, you're being asked to consider an ordinance to do the same, to protect the innocent. But the innocent we want you to protect have no voice, and they have no free will. In all the ordinances I mentioned, those people have free will to either obey or not to obey. All we're asking you to do is not allow innocent children to die at the will of his or her mother. In closing, I want to read a quote out of a book by, excuse me, because I know my time is running out here, by Dr. Lynn Anderson in his book, They Smell Like Sheep. He's really talking to pastors and leaders across the nation, and here's what he writes. He says, the authentic leader lives his or her life with integrity and is guided by principle, not politics.
Pastor
the leader
Dorr, please bring your statement to a close. Your 3 minutes have expired.
Well, all I'm just asking is for this council to consider an ordinance to save life, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Madam Clerk, please call the next public speaker.
Andy Prince regarding Human Life Ordinance.
Good evening. Please identify yourself and proceed.
Good evening. I'm Andy Prince. I am the lead pastor at Grace Baptist Church in Bakersfield. I'd like to thank the City Council and the city staff for your faithful service to our city. I come asking for your support of the Human Life Ordinance. Years ago, there was a young unwed mother who found out that she was pregnant. As you can imagine, she was overwhelmed, and there was embarrassment to her family and, more importantly, to her fiancé, who was not the father. Her hopes and dreams seemed dashed. Her life had changed. The man she loved looked with disappointment in eyes at her, and her friends could always be seen whispering when she was around. But she knew what they were talking about, and it hurt deeply. Her family lived with the shame that their daughter had brought them. Their relatives, the neighbors, and the friends could not believe this could have happened. This young girl could have decided to snuff out this life. Perhaps it would have been easier than to face the opposition she faced. But instead, she chose to hang in there because she knew that life was a gift that God had given her. In fact, our city, our state, and our nation will shut down for a day to recognize this young unwed mother's baby. Mary gave birth to a son named Jesus, who became the Savior of the world to any who would believe. God creates all life, and each is special to him. In the womb, he knows us. Even the scientific community recognizes that at the moment of conception, there is life. The most recent Gallup poll that identified people as pro-choice or pro-life had the lowest amount of people ever recorded at 41% that identified themselves as pro-choice, and 50% of people in America now identify themselves as pro-life. In fact, 51% of Americans say abortion is morally wrong. But I believe it's not important what America votes in a poll, but it's what God says. God writes, "I call heaven and earth as witnesses today against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and cursing. Therefore choose life, that both you and your descendants may live, that you may love the Lord your God, that you may obey his voice, and that you may cling to him, for he is your life and the length of your days." A few years ago, you were brave enough to vote the motto, "In God We Trust," to be a part of the identification of this city. If we trust God, then let's choose life and trust that God will bless us. Then now we trust you to make this decision for our city. I want to thank you for your time, and I want you to know that you will be in my and our church's prayer. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, please call the next public speaker.
The last speaker, Mayor, is Deborah Moore.
Good evening. Please identify yourself and proceed.
My name is Deborah Moore. After 25 years in the public schools, I retired last year. I have 7 years of college, 3 masters, and numerous credentials. Some years ago, I took a look, and I think we may have over 300 churches. We have vastly more churches than we have fast food stores. Are we who we claim to be? With all these churches, the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not kill. Now, I had another job, a real high-paying job, and I came up pregnant for the 3rd time. I was married. This was very inconvenient. I don't know how many hours or days I thought about how inconvenient this 3rd pregnancy was going to be. I did not want a 3rd child. I did, Lord forgive me, consider abortion. Okay, we're all a little bit older. I hope you'll forgive me for saying this. But now I have adult children, and you know how some of them stray? The only child The only child that calls me is that almost aborted one. The only one that calls to say, "How are you? How was your week?" What would I have done without that child? I believe it was Beethoven that I heard about, who had one sibling after another born before him that was physically handicapped. Nowadays, a parent that had children like that when Beethoven was born could have aborted. Are we who we say we are? Thou shalt not kill.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.